Okay.
All right, everyone, we're going to get started for our last session for today. Right. So for this session, we have Patrick. Patrick is a cartographer and developer interested in telling the stories of communities through maps and technology. He has worked for county governments, nonprofits, and is currently working for the Pennsylvania Department of Health. Here, he provides technical support to users and assists with GIS application projects. Outside of professional endeavors, Patrick also enjoys playing bass guitar and skateboarding. So, welcome, Patrick.
Good afternoon, everybody. Gotta keep things interesting. So I'm gonna do maybe a little bit of a different session than you've had all day. So who here, raise your hand if you've ever heard of felt maps? One person, two people. Yeah, felt's pretty new. They're like a new startup. I started seeing them on LinkedIn. There's somebody, I think they might be like an agitated ex-Esri employee, because I always see them post stuff. They post all sorts of stuff. I don't know how I got connected with them, but I started seeing this, and then I listened to a podcast. It's called Mind Behind Maps. It was an hour-long conversation with the CTO of this company, and I'm like, okay, let me give it a try. So I created a free account. When you first join, they have this kind of quirky little tutorial. I created a map, and I thought, well, GIS Day is about learning new things, so I have no affiliation with Felt. Some of the stuff I'm going to be doing today, I may be doing for the first time, so that's like a good way to see how easy it to use. All I can say is that Felt's a new company. They're doing web mapping. A lot of companies do web mapping. My goal is you can leave here and say, I learned about Felt, whether you think it's cool or you think it's stupid. I don't care. It's up to you. You know, you can see what it looks like. It's drastically changing. One thing that's kind of disappointing, I mean, it's not disappointing. It's right now everything's free, but in 2024 they're going to roll out their paid plans because they're a tech company. They are going to have an always free tier, and I think that's good because I wonder if I can hold. Because you know it's good. Like, you know, as your developer account, you can have a free account. You know, they restrict how much bandwidth you can do, but it's free. I wanted to check out Cardo, which is another company, but all they give you is a 14-day free trial. So I just passed on them. So just for full disclosure, some of the stuff I'm going to show you today in like a month and a half is going to require a paid plan. So I apologize for that, but maybe if you're taking off some time off for Christmas, you can like spend a morning tinkering with Felt before it costs money. The long and short is, with most companies, the more you pay per month, the more functionality you get. That's the important point. So that's kind of one bummer to this. And I guess I should review my notes. So it seems like they're trying to go for like a very simplistic. When I started using this, what I first thought about was like planners, because I've worked with planners who do a little bit of GIS, but they typically complain about it being too complicated. So this kind of tool seems like something that like people who kind of tinker with GIS and use the data, but they're not super technical, maybe that's the audience for this. I don't really know. But basically, you know, you can see your recent maps. If you don't have published maps, they show up there. I guess if you have maps shared with you on a team, so you know, if you wanted to create a new team, maybe you're collecting user feedback on potential changes to like transit, you know, create a team name, you can add collaborators. That's pretty self-explanatory. But we're just going to walk through this map. And even in like the 2 weeks that I've been tinkering with this, this kind of user interface used to be at the bottom. Is this a good screen size for everyone? That's my main concern. Okay. So, you know, it's got the basic map. You know, you can zoom in, you can zoom out, you can find your location. I always think it's interesting to see like where it thinks you're at. Okay. I work for the state, and like sometimes when I'm on VPN, it like puts me in a place which is odd to me. So I was just curious what would show up, but this is like spot on. I want to turn it off. Okay. So then they have their help menu. What's interesting is you can submit feedback really easily. You can just click this. It opens up a Google form. Well, I'm going to let IT at HU decide what changes happen to Google Chrome. But you can submit a simple form. I don't know if they actually listen to your feedback. I submitted them feedback via email because some of their documentation for Stamen Maps is outdated as of like 15 days. But they make it easy. So then up here, I consider this a base map. They call it a background. So already there, I feel like they're maybe gearing towards non-GIS users because we think of base maps, but they call it a background. But by default, it's some mashup of OpenStreetMap, which is kind of common now. By the way, if you're looking for something kind of fun to do when you have some free time, sign up for a free OpenStreetMap account and like find some area locally and add data. I've been able to add a little bit of data to OpenStreetMap, and like OpenStreetMap's used by like pretty much all the tech companies nowadays. So that's a good use of your free time, being a good civic duty. Do your civic duty and contribute to OpenStreetMap. But by default, they call it default. I guess it's just kind of your standard OpenStreetMaps. You can get satellites with road labels. Then you can add. So they give you this monochrome dark and light, or kind of, they seem like equivalents of Esri's light gray canvas and dark gray canvas. This outdoors is kind of like a slightly different version of the default base map. But what's interesting is you can add. This is where increasing my screen size is getting me. These modals are not friendly to resizing. So let me decrease my size for a little bit. So I don't know why you would do this, but you could make your background a solid color, and here it's not even working. Let me try again. This has happened to me sometimes. It's happened to me on VPN for the state. So maybe whatever is happening, HU doesn't like as well. Maybe I have to press enter. Enter. Okay. I mean, I could see like if you added data to it, you could like have some interesting contrast, and then you could like export it to an image or PDF. But I don't really know why you'd want just like a lime green background for a map. But you can do that if you want to. But what I think we actually care about as people at GIS State is from URL. And so I should have mentioned, I have this GitHub repository. Maybe we can drop this. If I knew how to get to AirMeet, I would just drop it in, but I don't know how to do that. All right, but this just has some notes and some links, some sample data. But basically, they have pretty good documentation. You can add from lots of sources, Esri REST services, Mapbox, Stamen. So what I did is I saw PennDOT has shared a couple presentations. So I discovered this base map that PennDOT has by accident a couple years ago. They just call it PennDOT base map. So what we can do, I'm sorry, I have too many tabs open. Woo. So basically you add the URL, and you have to kind of like add this tile in this like XYZ, and every different platform, it's slightly different. You can give it a title. It failed to load preview. Sometimes it shows the preview, sometimes it doesn't. You can set a min and max zoom value. So I'm going to add this and hope it works because I don't see a preview, and it worked. So this is a PennDOT base map. I don't know who makes it, but it even has data out of the state. It does no knock to PennDOT, but it lacks a certain sharpness that some other. It's probably like raster tiles, and like if it was maybe there's a vector tile version of this that like looks sharper. I don't know. If so, PennDOT can correct my misdeeds of using a raster-based base map. But you can add an Esri base map. Has anyone here heard of the Stamen-based maps? So they have like watercolor, which like I love. They have one called Toner. So what happened is like Stamen basically was like, we can't support this project. So Stadia Maps. So you actually have to create a Stadia Maps account. Now I was clever enough to add a Stadia Maps account with the same Google account I did Felt. So somehow it's like doing a handshake, and right now it recognizes I'm logged in. But here it's showing the preview. So I can add this, and now we have like a watercolor impression of OpenStreetMap. I don't know why. When I first saw this, I thought this was like such a cool way to approach like cartography for like, you know, a bunch of data. But you can see here the name you give it shows as a copyright. So maybe I should have said Stamen Maps. So that's your base maps. You know, I think it's great that you can incorporate different kinds of providers. So here, I'm going to leave this legend up because some things show up in the legend tab and some things show up as an element in the list tab, and I don't know why, but it's how they've designed it. Then this is your full screen. Normally full screen is like it's almost like a bracket symbol. That's what I'm used to, like full screen being, but they have a press play button as full screen. So that's different than I'm used to. You can share a map. This reminds me of kind of like when you're sharing something through like Office 365. You know, can they view it, view and comment, view, comment, and edit? Maybe if you're designing a map for stakeholders, you want to allow them to comment. So now we get into what I call the hidden menu, because when I first was using this, I kind of accidentally clicked on this and realized, oh, here is a menu. And I guess, you know, I should have understood this down icon as a menu, but this is kind of getting slightly, let's take a step into like UI. There's probably a better way to inform users that like this is a menu. I mean, it would be nice to say menu, or, you know, usually it's like the hamburger menu, but anyhow, for me, it kind of was kind of a rocky user interface, but you can do a lot here. They have these shortcuts for commands. You can duplicate your map, delete it. We'll get into upload anything, upload from URL. Their big marketing push is this whole like upload anything. The guy talks about on the podcast. You can export to an image, PDF. You can export all of your data to GeoJSON. So in the transit example, if you had the public adding comments, you could then export that to GeoJSON and then import it into, you know, maybe a SQL database or a FileGeo database or some other data type and do further analysis. You can embed it. That's kind of standard. You know, it would be weird if they didn't allow you to embed the map. But unfortunately, all of these, you know, all these exports, most of these exports in embed, that requires a paid plan in a month and a half. So that's kind of a bummer. This is kind of a duplicate of this right-hand side menu. Transform. So this was just released like the last week or two. There is some basic spatial analysis, and we're going to try it on the fly and see how well it works. And my guess is they're going to add more spatial analysis in the future. So now we'll go to where the fun is at. So these things show up as elements. So we have your basic shapes: a pin, a line, a polygon, a circle. I'm just going to do a couple of these for time's sake, but I'll drop a pin at HU. I'm going to call it GIState HQ. Wow. All right, I can add a description. You know, icons. There's not many icons but they allow you to do emojis, which I've never seen a mapping platform allow you to use an emoji as a map marker. I think that's kind of clever. That's probably them coming from like the CTO of this company worked at Uber. So so this is probably like that whole like tech mindset of why you would allow an icon, an emoji, but there's an emoji map icon. So that's going to be our icon. That's kind of cool. You can add rows. I don't, like I said, I don't know why you would do some of this stuff, but you can. So now for most of these like element marker, you can duplicate it, you can lock it, you can export it to GeoJSON, and then you can convert it to a layer, which changes how you, if you made a bunch of these points and you group them and you gave them some sort of, I guess, attribute, and then you converted it to a layer, then you could like symbolize by categories or by like values. I'll do a route just to show you that as well. It's interesting is you can pick the mode of transportation. So I'm going to say we want to walk, do default colors or hex values. We're going to walk from GIS Day to Denim Coffee to get refueled for the afternoon, which is what I did. Even though this says Little Amps, don't be fooled. It's Denim Coffee in here. They're both good coffee, but it's Denim Coffee in there. You know, basic formatting, show the distance, you know. Just had a frustration because I tried to rename it. Oh, there we go. The same kind of options. Convert to layer. You know, you all know what like a line and polygon and circle look like. So I'm going to skip over those. So they have these annotations. They have a marker and highlighter, which are very similar. A marker is essentially a freehand. It's a freehand. Set opacity size. They have a marker highlighter. I guess the point of a highlighter is to have a larger freehand drawing. I don't know. It's then we have like text and notes, which are very similar. Basic formatting. Then we have a note. I must have done a note first. I don't even know what text, sorry. Oh, here is text. So it seems like they duplicate a lot of the similar kinds of elements. And you can always get them back from this menu. A link is really just a link to a website. Then comment. So I guess if you wanted to comment on a map, add proposed route here, you can add someone. You click off this, you lose it. That threw me off. You actually have to click on this submit comment. I would think if you click everything else, you click off it, it just does it. You click off this, it doesn't submit. So that's kind of wonky. Okay, let's get to something that's kind of cool with this platform. Let me go over here. So this extract. So based upon your zoom level, you can extract, I guess, base data from OpenStreetMap. So, if I'm at a certain level, I can extract buildings. If I go out a little bit further, I can now extract neighborhoods if they exist. So I'm gonna have to be in a city. So like in Harrisburg, I see these neighborhoods. If I go over here to like Camp Hill and Lemoyne, I don't see them. But if I were to zoom into, let's say, Lancaster, now I see my neighborhoods again. Then if I start going out further, I get into what they call cities, which are they're boroughs and they're also what I think might be like census places, because I can tell you Salonga and Landisville are not municipalities. So I think it might be like census places in municipalities. I got further, I can extract counties. I got even further, I get to states, then I get to countries. So that I've never seen kind of that that functionality baked in to an application. Pull out ShyPoke. No, what did it take? So I can right click this and click delete. I don't want New York. I don't want United States. I must have gotten trigger happy or mouse happy. I should watch what I say. Sorry, I didn't mean it in an offensive way. It's a saying. Okay, so that's kind of cool. That's one feature that I like with Felt. But what about a spreadsheet of latitude and longitude? What about like a REST service? You can do that too. So, but we'll just do that. There's pre-canned layers, but let's get into adding your own data. Once again, they have a link for kind of how this works. I've had mixed success with this, but they have a lot of different formats. They call it upload anything. So like rather than referencing that initial data source, I think they're extracting it on their servers and changing it to some data format, because I did this and I had my DevTools open, the network tab, and I tried to figure out like what they were doing, and it was just very unclear to me. They probably, because they don't want me to know what they're doing, but they were doing something, but it wasn't what I was used to seeing. So I have a few kinds of data to try. So this first thing is from DCNR's open data site. It is the hiking trails at state parks. So in Felt, I give them the URL. It says looks good. I give it a name. And then I kind of wait. It's adding layer, and then it's processing. And this is a larger data set, so it's going to take some time to process. So that's an Esri REST service we're adding. For time's sake, I'm going to kind of stack it on multiple things. So this next thing is I went to PennDOT's open data site and I downloaded a GeoJSON file, park and ride locations, and I uploaded that as a file to my Git repository. So I'm going to add, so Esri REST service, now we're having a GeoJSON file. I'm just going to queue everything up. I'm pretty sure that this is running server side and not browser side, but I don't know because I don't work for Felt. Park and ride site. So now that it's here, I can zoom to fit. Oh, what? Just that's it. That's not what I expected to happen. There we go. So you click on it. It's a very rough looking attribute table. But here, this is what's cool. Based upon they're doing things behind the scenes, depending upon what kinds of fields are available, determines which of these options show up for like symbology. So by categories, you know, so they give that qualitative way. Basic symbology, you can add labels, kind of things you'd expect from a web mapping platform. You can add a halo. Then if you don't like that, instead of an X, it's a minus. I would think an X, but they use a minus. So you can look at the table if you want that. I know some people, they can't live without their like tabular view. I'm not a big fan of tabular views. My eyes start watering over. So now this is what it shows like in the legend. So this is, this is just what shows up in the legend, another data view, and then some more information, transform. I'll get to that in a minute. Actually, I better start that. So I'm running out of time. So they have a lot of pre-canned layers. If You think they should add another pre-canned layer, you submit this form, and maybe they listen to you. That's the thing. When you submit feedback to these companies, you never know if they actually care what you say or not. I mean, who here has submitted an idea on the Esri Ideas site? I submitted like 1 million ideas. Sometimes they get, but most of the time, I think they go nowhere. So that's, I don't see where, maybe Felt's different. I don't know. But basically, they have pre-canned data themes. They show the source, OpenStreetMap. Here's Natural Earth. What I want is I actually want to get state house districts from Census Bureau. You can look at this later. I don't, there's some default data sites. Sorry, default formats. Okay, so quickly, I'm going to transform. So I'm going to kind of do things as I'm working. So what I actually want to do is I want to do count points. So for each polygon of state house districts, I'm going to count how many park and rides are in them. So I can do it for the entire layer or just on screen, which I think sometimes is like in map view, and then the name of it. So it says it's going to take under a minute, but it's never, in my testing, it's never taken under a minute. So I'm going to let that work. That's processing. So back to layers. So we've done Esri REST service, GeoJSON, default, spatial analysis output. So what else can we do? Well, on PASDA, there is a CSV file that has it's historical markers at Penn State. It has a latitude and longitude column, which it must just know to look for. So now I'm going to add a CSV file. Let that churn. Just to prove it can also do polygons. The City of Harrisburg open data site has eligible historic districts. I don't know what that means, but let's just prove that it can do a polygon. Let that churn. The CSV file, it mapped that too. And so we're just waiting because you see this has definitely been taking longer than a minute. I don't know why it said under a minute. That was a lie. Historic district. So back to what I said before. So if I try to go make Chrome fast, it might be doing some things in the browser because I'm getting a warning about my memory usage. So maybe 2 tabs, but it could also be but some of this analysis might be browser based. I don't know. So, okay, eligible historic districts. So my dropdown, all I get now is simple in categories. For park and rides, I had like 4 options. So I think it's like looking into the data types to determine what your options are for symbology. So the last thing I'm going to do while I wait for this to churn is the upload anything. So I have some acquaintances, friends that work for York County. My good friend Joe Samora works for York County. He's not here, but I saw some of his colleagues here today. So, oh look, he's the one who uploaded this stat. I didn't realize that before. He's a big cyclist, which I respect. So they have, it doesn't have lat and long, but it has street addresses. So hopefully I don't get in trouble for doing this. So we'll do this upload anything. They really, like I said, in this podcast, this guy, the CTO, he makes it sound like, well, we can upload anything. I don't know what happens when you upload something that's just like nothing spatial about it. I don't know. I didn't test that because I don't really have a need for that. But anyhow, okay. I'm going to assume it's in downloads. Okay. So I can choose whether it's an element or a data layer, which kind of, you can't do analysis on elements, but you can on data layers. The symbology is a little bit different. That's all I've been able to gather. So I'm going to geocode this. I'm not exactly sure what geocoder they're using. I thought I saw in an email, all their emails go to my spam. But I thought I saw that they use a census geocoder. One other thing to show is they do have, like, I guess what we call geo search. Which is an element. But anyhow, polling location, zoom to fit. Let me go to Dillsburg. There's a car dealership that, like, their commercials, there's Dills in Dillsburg. And so when I think of Dillsburg, I think of that commercial, which is just like not the association I want to have, but it's such a catchy marketing ploy that it works. So can I find Dillsburg? Yeah. So, okay, this is West Church Street and North 2nd. This is saying 99 West Church Street. So it's probably actually geocoded correctly. It's added the XY. So you can geocode with this. I think I'm done in 10 minutes. So I'll take questions while our analysis churns, and then maybe it'll be done before our time is on and we can actually see what it did. But that's all I had. I know it was fast, but 40 minutes is not enough time, but you got to make it work.
So when you uploaded the Esri REST service, is it actually taking an extract of that data and then putting it in there as like some sort of feature layer?
Let's have some fun.
I mean, I guess I was confused as to why it just didn't bring in the service live.
So let's have some fun.
Yeah, this looks good. It seemed like strange behavior to me.
Yeah.
Like, why wouldn't it just?
So it's doing something. So it looks like it's doing something on Amazon.
Uploads, yeah.
Heap Analytics. This Heap Analytics thing comes up. I don't know if this is like, it's doing something. I don't know what. It almost seems to me that it's because it used to say add from URL, but now it says upload. So to me, it seems like they're taking that data from that URL and they're transforming it into another, because something else you can do. I don't know what this means, but I can. So layers you can export to GeoPackage, which is kind of like an open source equivalent to Shapefile. But I can publish a layer. I don't know what that. I haven't tried that, but apparently I can publish this. So it seems to me that they're.
Click on what's the view source there. What's that?
Which one?
Very so actions.
This this is like, it's just like a JSON, which seems to be like the display.
Yeah, it seems like it almost converts it to some sort of GeoJSON.
Yeah, it might
store
be,
with the map directly rather than a live feed from the REST service.
Yeah, it's not, which to me is weird, but it seems like it does seem like they're converting it to something that they want to work with, probably GeoJSON. And
which means that if you wanted to update that, if that was dynamic data that updated frequently, you'd want to go and re-upload it.
Yeah, just to kind of show you what we got from this analysis. So it basically shows you how many parking routes are in that location. We did finish that off. Anything else?
So this is kind of like an non-felt question.
That's fine.
So this is I would categorize this as, a browser-based sort of lightweight application. A lot of us come from working with heavyweight applications, desktop-based, huge databases. I guess I have a two-part question. First is why would you like, and so my approach to publishing a map like this would be, let's bring everything into ArcPro, set it up in ArcPro, set the symbology, then export it to a map service or something, and then publish it through a browser instead of actually going through a browser to develop the map itself. So why would somebody choose to go this way, like use cases or stuff like that?
I don't know. I mean, that's what I've been trying to figure out. The only thing I can think about, I don't know. I mean, I've been test driving. I'm like, I don't know why I would use this. The only thing you can think about is maybe if you have stuff like Jesse used to be my boss, and we had some staff that they didn't really like all the buttons. So like maybe you have staff who need to work with spatial data, but they want things really simplified. So you make a map, you add the data to it, and then they can do what they need to do with it. That's all I can think about. Or you're trying to collect data for maybe you want input on, like example, like a new transit line, and you want to capture that data in an easy way for the public to use, and then you work with it later. That's all I can think of. It'd be interesting to hear like what Felt as a company envisions, because they're trying to do something. They got funding from the people who fund startups, but who knows? I mean, they might not even last. In 2 years, Felt might be a thing of the past. That's the honest truth.
Right, because there's certainly utility to be able to do, like you did spatial analysis, right? And that's something you can do on AGL, right? If you want to consume credits.
Yep.
So it just, to me, I just keep thinking like, what's the use case for going on a browser-based approach? It just seems like when you're getting into spatial analysis, are the people doing spatial analysis really the people that don't have access to ArcPro?
Yeah, I mean, my guess is that they're not trying to target the traditional GIS professional. They're trying to target people who that's the thing I can think about is they're not targeting, oddly enough, the people who are coming to an event like this. I know that sounds like really ironic, but I mean that could be the case. But I mean, they're clearly trying. Their marketing people have some stuff up, but that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, me also, like, I don't know why I would use this, and I just did a presentation on it.
I'm the planner one for the city of Harrisburg,
Okay.
and I know for an example that we don't have very many GIS licenses within the city. So this would be something our sustainability coordinator
Yeah.
could use, because she would have to use my computer if she wanted to use GIS, because I'm one of the only people
Yeah.
who has the GIS license.
Yeah.
So we're waiting to get an administrator, a
Yeah.
GIS administrator. But this looks like something we could use in the city until we can get more licenses.
Yeah, and it looks like it's going to be $30 a month per user for standard, 90 per month. So I don't know what that. I mean, I know a creator is like $538 per year for ArcGIS Online for comparison. So it's a lot cheaper than that. But you can do a lot more with ArcGIS Online than you can with this. So. Oh yeah, that's.
So being a student at Susquehanna University, we have a GIS class that uses ArcPro, but it's more of a junior senior level course. And one of the complaints is like, oh, we've gotten it like this far and now we want to do more, but we're graduating. So do you think this would be, and a lot of that is because it takes so long to get immersed in Esri. Do you think figuring out to turn this into an intro to GIS course, like, do you think from what you've used, do you think it would be helpful to get the basics out of the way and then jump into like Esri? Like, do you think that transition between Felt and Esri would be more helpful or less helpful?
Less helpful, because like when you're working for a company, like more likely than not, it's going to be a company that uses Esri. So it'd almost be better that before the students dive into ArcGIS Pro, they dive into ArcGIS Online, whether that's with an organizational account or you can get a free Esri developer account. I have an Esri developer account. They just limit how much usage you can get. I think it'd be better to like use ArcGIS Online with an organizational account or a free developer account, because when you get a job, you're likely going to use either ArcGIS Online or Enterprise, which is a very similar product. So whereas like, I don't know, you probably won't be using Felt, to be honest, but maybe not. Yeah.
Do you know when you go to share one of these maps, does the person viewing it need an account to do certain things, or
well,
do you have to pay to share?
I don't know. I
full
don't know. I haven't
functionality?
tested that yet. I mean, I don't know. And like I said, so okay, well, so here we go. So for a personal account, you can only share privately. You have to have a paid account to well, I don't see oh, post public. Okay, post publicly. So I would think that if I mean that to me that seems like I can share a map publicly with a free account. But I haven't tested it yet, so who knows if that's true. I would think that's true. Any other questions? I thought I saw one more somewhere, but maybe I just imagined it. Anything online? All right, well,
All right, I think we're good to go.
yeah, I think there's one more session downstairs if you want to
There
stay.
is. Yep.
Okay.